All right, everybody, welcome back to part 2 of the Northwest Conversion Zone show. Big show today, and part 2, man, we're going to start off with a bang. We got a great guest in here today, Dudley Taft, who used to be in the band Space Antelope, Sweetwater, Second Coming, also plays guitar for Spike and the Impalers. Right now, he's on a blues mojo, rising, kind of on fire with laying it down and feeling funky and giving us all he's got. New CD out called Left for Dead. He's about to play Hell's Kitchen tonight, which we're all going to go down to. Of course, by the time you hear this, it will have happened, so I'm going to tell you right now, it was freaking awesome, dude.
It was a great show.
Dudley, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, now tell us about your trek to the Northwest. I know you were born on the East Coast, and then you spent some time in the Midwest. We talked about it. You were in my hometown, actually at the same time I was there, so down in Houston, Texas. Give us the evolution of Dudley Taft coming to the Northwest.
Well, like you say, I grew up in a country called the Midwest. Man, what a great place to grow up and be listening to music. Mid to late 70s it was incredible. All the rock and roll, Leonard Skinner
Yes.
to Jimi Hendrix and Zeppelin and Thin Lizzy and Foghat. Foghat, Fool for the City.
Did you have the black hat that said fog on it? That's what I want to know.
I didn't. Darn it, I didn't. And that was when they had the cool record stores where you could go in and get, everything that you would need to listen to and enjoy a record.
Right.
I
see.
They had the back room with all the cool vases. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. It was a one-stop shop. It was
like a plant room in the back.
Spent a bunch of time there. My family moved around a bit. I lived in kind of Cincinnati 2 to 10. Pretty isolated, not much exposure to much of anything, and thank God I left. Not to say that I don't appreciate its pastoral beauty, but I wanted a little urban action and moved to Philadelphia.
Okay.
Lived there for about 18 months and then went down to Houston, Texas.
Thank you.
And that's kind of where Houston is sort of where I discovered rock and roll and kind of where I came out of my shell a little bit. I moved in the middle of the year, which as a kid going into the 6th, 7th grade,
that sucks.
That's pretty rough.
Yes.
So I got kind of lumped. I started hanging out with this sort of the castaway group, and this one guy's name was Regan Balzer, and he was 15. We were all like 12 and a half or something.
Right.
But somehow he was in the same grade. That's another story. But he came up to me one time. I picked my sport was tennis, okay, because I was too skinny to be effective in football.
Which is the religion down there.
It really is.
Yes.
It really is. And unfortunately, I lived down
I
wasn't
there.
a part of it.
When I lived down there, I'd never heard of tennis.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he had to pick a tennis partner, and so this guy came up to me and he looked at me, and then he punched me as hard as he could in the arm, and he said, "You won't be my tennis partner." And okay. Well, hello. I'm in Texas now, but Regan turned me on to Ted Nugent.
Uncle
and
Teddy.
Stranglehold, and we would turn on the strobe light and jam out in front of the mirror, with the tennis racket, and that's kind of where I discovered rock and roll.
Yeah.
After that, I moved to Indianapolis, and I started taking guitar lessons from this guy Rob Sweeney, who, really knew how to reach a young man who wanted to play guitar. Here, learn this scale, learn this chord, and get an electric. And by the way, this is something you'll use for the rest of your life. It's a distortion pedal. I was like, yeah, baby, this is cool. So I spent a lot of time practicing guitar and learning and playing in a couple bands, and ended up going to boarding school on the East Coast, and then college in California. I wanted to go to L.A. and be part of the music business. After I got out of college was '88, when sort of the metal scene was kind of dying in L.A., and I really wasn't finding anything good musically that, you know, for me there. And a buddy of mine said, hey, check out this EP. It's a band called Mother Love Bone.
Yes.
And this was, you know, maybe 89 or something like that. And he said, why don't you go check it out? So I went up and checked out Seattle. And in the summer of 90, I moved up and joined a band that eventually became Sweetwater. But you know, when I came up to Seattle, what I really liked about it was that it was it reminded me of a sort of a smaller town. LA is just crazy, man. It's just too big, you know. Seattle was more familiar to me, and you know, you could go to the same club night after night and run into the same people and cultivate your friendship, and especially with the guys that were in the bands, there was this camaraderie and this spirit of, hey, we're all on the same team, which there was zero of in LA. You know, it's like, you know, what can you do for me? And
it's all competition. Yeah,
it's very, very me oriented. So I felt more at home with it, and I was lucky that I got in with, you know, with Sweetwater, because you know, they really had something going, you know, and I enjoyed it, and I think I brought a little bit to the picture, and you know.
How long were you with Sweetwater?
I was with Sweetwater until '95 during the making of the second record. Okay. And at that point, the first record had come out and did not do well. It really didn't get much of a push from Atlantic, which was was kind of sad in a way. You know, maybe Sweetwater didn't have the songs. I don't know, but we never got the chance to find out. Right. So those guys are really second guessing everything at that point, and so they decided to keep it just the core. You know, those guys all grew up together, and so I was totally bummed. You know, that was my whole life at that point. And but it turned out really to be a good thing for me, because I moved on and I experimented some more with rock, and ended up in Second Coming, got another label deal, and that was interesting and fun, and it was fun writing that music. It wasn't as fun to play it, because we would play to a DAT machine that had, you know, samples, and you know, it's funny because a lot of the songs that I wrote in Second Coming came from these sample CDs, and this was kind of right when, you know, rap was using, you know, rap was coming, you know,
it was coming off the streets,
coming
mainstream.
into its own, and they were using all these funky beats from the 70s and stuff, and they weren't like typical rock beats, you know, boom, check. They're like, you know, that kind of, but I mean, it was samples off the old records, and so that's where I got, you know, I started writing songs. One of our big radio hits, you know, was a rock song that swung, you know, and there weren't a lot of other rock bands that had songs that did that. I mean, you know, Van Halen would be, you know, they had a lot of boogie and a lot of swing in their music. And now that I'm doing blues, I'm realizing, oh yeah, this is cool, man. Shuffles and swinging beats, and you know, I mean, the list of beats that there are is amazing. There's so many different kinds of rhythms, and so I you know, it was very nice to start doing the blues